The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, and I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I'm here with my partner in crime, one of the more respected DFS guys in the industry, Mr. Mike Apotria. How are you today, Mike?
Listen, I'm still sitting here counting my free rake winnings over from fantasy draft over the weekend. You know, it was another solid football week for me, Coach. Maybe I'm a fish out there. Maybe it's because it's rake free and it's just more payouts. But I'm cashing out over there. I'm getting confident heading into this preseason.
You're already building a bankroll and it's football, huh?
I'm just hoping that I can still just continuously build just even if it's like a little bit. I don't need to win a couple $100 a night or anything. But if I can keep it at a steady increase by the time preseason comes, I'll be all right. I'm trying not to be too greedy over here and enter a big contest like I'm a hot shot. But I'm getting confident. I'm getting some good plays out there.
Man, congratulations. I may have to start paying you for some select NFL selections here this coming week. Because my football fish consistency has remained as it has in prior seasons. I do not dabble with it. I've only played the big contests to support our sponsor Fantasy Draft, but again, not willing to share my results.
Well, I would never charge anybody for any kind of football advice that I'm giving. I think I'm very knowledgeable. I know a lot, but I'm by far no means an expert. There's a lot of people that know a lot more than me.
You're a shark. It could be women's lacrosse, and I bet you'd be nailing stuff on there, dude. You're the man.
Women's Notre Dame's got a good team this year.
See, there you go. There it is. We're already in there. We mark ex Notre Dame players, women's lacrosse. There you go. You're in. I love it.
I love watching sports, and I like breaking it down. I like taking you'll hear me say it 100 times. You got to lift every rock. You got to turn around every corner. You got to check everything. This is one of those things in DFS basketball, regardless of the sport. The more research you do, the better off you're going to be. Do a little bit more.
My mama didn't raise no fool. I know who to pick as my partner on this show, man. You think I'm not going to ride your coattails? You got another thing coming. I know you're the GOAT, man, and I'm just trying to ride those coattails into the sunset. Get a little of that change falling out of your pocket.
Yeah. let's hope for it this season. Let's see. If I can't claim everything, Coach. I mean, let's be real. If we're both winning, it's because I'm probably stealing your plays too. Like that, you'll hear it mention it 100 times throughout the show. JaVale McGee and the Nets.
That's right. Nets. That's your humble pie, to always keep you grounded.
I botched it. Yeah, I thought Kuzma's coming back off an injury. He's fresh. He's gonna play. We'll go small against the Nets. Yeah.
26, 21, and 5. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. Enough of that. Enough.
All right, dude.
Enough.
We have such a full pack show today. We definitely got to get the ball rolling. But let me start out, first of all, by thanking our presenting sponsor, Fantasy Draft. They're the only rake-free fantasy site in the industry, completely rake-free. Get on there, join at fantasydraft.com. Use the promo HoopBall. That's HOOPBALL, all one word. You get 7 days free membership, which is up to $1,000 in rake-free tournaments. And I'm telling you, there's nothing like it in the industry. Again, all the buzz with all the sites, it's Fantasy Draft with their rake-free contests. And I know you've enjoyed, as you said, profiting in a few of those. And again, everything that goes in comes out. This week, they have the NFL Hooters 750,000 guaranteed rake-free contest. So regardless if there's not 750,000 in the pool, that's the amount's guaranteed that's going to go out. And again, that's with no rake. And I don't believe there's any other rake-free big contests left in the industry. I know Yahoo had won the first couple of weeks. They're now back to a 10% rake on their $1 million contest. So if you want a true rake-free contest, you got to go to Fantasy Draft and sign up there. So definitely get involved with them.
Absolutely. I told you guys. It's the only reason I think I won 180 on week one off of a $20 play. I came in 248th place, and normally that is not going to turn out to be $180. But the rake free, when you're talking about these GPPs, $20 entry, 50,000 people it was in week one, and other sites are taking 10% of that total winnings. That's
the low rake. Some of them are much higher, 14, 16. It just depends on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. And you heard me mention it, I think, last show, or that's one of the things I look into on my GPPs. And yes, I do play multiple sites. There's some contests where they're better. There's some days where the pricing is just absurd on one. And I try to take advantage, like I said, to getting every edge. But knowing your sites in the scoring format, and then also knowing how the rake is going to be for those GPPs is going to influence which website I'm playing more on each given night.
No question. And, we talked quite a bit in depth. If you missed last week's episode, you can find it, wherever podcasts are found. And it was last Thursday's episode where we talked a lot about that strategy, how you want to make sure and understand the scoring rules. And, these things cannot, go without being said too many times because, the contests that you're entering, regardless of the site you're playing on, you got to know the exact scoring rules. You got to know the exact payouts. And that, again, changes and affects your complete strategy going in. If you go in blind and just throw a lineup in there and use the same lineup across different sites, you're missing the boat. Again, if you have a chance to listen in to last week's show, where we really went in depth about that. And we're going to be touching on it again almost every show because, our whole preparation time in this off season, as we're almost close to the preseason here, is to get you ready to just crush and get a good bankroll going, even in the preseason when some of those contests become available. So make sure to focus on that. And then to set the stage a little bit for how these next three shows are going to go, we're going to start off each show today. We'll do the same with a little small talk of what's going on, most recent in the news of the NBA. Just go a few minutes on those specific areas. And then we're going to dive into a three-part series, today being the first, where we're going to look at each team in the NBA and how it's directly affecting DFS with their player moves, their usage, everything that's going on. So we're not going to do a really super deep dive, but we want to give a good 5-10 minutes on every team to at least touch base with what we're seeing early on, what we're hearing, what you can keep an eye out for as preseason and as the camps come along. We're going to do the Atlantic and Central on today's podcast. Next week, we'll do the Southeast and Northwest, and then we'll finish up with the Pacific and Southwest in that third show. And then at that point, we're ready for daily shows as the real contest begins. So with that, I'll start our quick early discussion here, Mike. It's 11 days from today, September 30th, when the first exhibition game is played. Can you believe that?
It's one of my favorite. They're doing the global games, so I don't believe there's going to be any contests for these games, but it means basketball's literally a day away, a couple of days away, we'll say. But it's so close from there, and we get to see actual exposure. And some people might wonder, what does that have to do with DFS? But this does, because it gives you a glimpse ahead of the contest of these teams' rotations right away. You get a first-hand look before pricing will come out on 6 teams. And The only bad thing is they could be adjusted for it, therefore. But we can see, and you'll hear me say it throughout this show, when it comes to preseason strategy, one thing I always do is I look at coaching tendencies in the past. I'll see how they played the first preseason game last year, 2 years ago. Maybe the coach was on a different team. I'll look at the coach on the other team, how he did it 2 years ago. There's a few things I look at, and it gives you an indication of how that coach might look at it going into this year.
And I'll tell you, Mike, I could not overstate that any more than I would just love to scream it from the top of the mountain here. You cannot be over-prepared. You cannot watch too much basketball. I've cleaned up in DFS basketball the last several years, and I'll tell you right now, it's very simple. It's not that I have like this all-knowing fantasy cruncher where I'm putting all the numbers in and it's, coming up with the winning lineups and percentages. And, I use the analytics and the numbers and all those things as well. But I'm telling you what it is. It's because I watch those games when it's a 30-point blowout, and I'm watching at the end to see, who comes in and plays their tail off, who's getting the coach's eye, who's still in that rotation. I'm at the NBA Summer League, watching 40, 50 games of basketball in person in Vegas. I'm watching the Team USA and all these other teams playing in FIBA with 57 NBA players involved. I'm going to catch this entire global games. You can't take any more out of our conversations other than what I'm telling you is watch as much, absorb as much. That's where you get the edge, the tendencies. You see those little pieces that make you a big winner in daily fantasy. And I'm telling you, I applied it when I coached, and it made a difference in my coaching. And I've used that same psychology and entire approach to it with DFS, and it's been super successful. So I know I'm really beating a dead horse with the same stuff, but there's no replacing watching it and seeing it with your own eyes. Make sure you have the ticket. Make sure you're ready to buckle down and get it done. Now, the global games, the games, the initial plates, the Pacers and Kings are playing in India, the Rockets and Raptors in Japan, and the Nets and Lakers in China. Again, that's that week of September 30th, 11 days from now. And then the first night, I believe that you'll be able to bet on preseason games will be October 4th. So, again, a couple weeks away, but coming quickly because we'll have 4 or 5 games that night. And you should be able to bet DFS preseason October 4th through October 18th. That's where we're looking to help you build that bankroll, and then the season tips off on October 22nd. So all the teams will start reporting here on the 30th and on the 1st, and then they get right into games right after that.
Yep, and then we get to start winning some money.
We do, and our goal is we want all of our listeners to get that bankroll nice and cushy so that you can take some shots at some contests. Now, when we're talking about these games and sort of as you get to know us more and more, we stated before, for those who listened to the first 3 podcasts, I'm the cash game single entry guy. I generally will only make 1 or 2 or 3 lineups per night and just focus on my main plays and go in some big heads up 50-50s or single entry games. Whereas Mike's more, he'll play a little bit of everything because he's a GOAT, but he's more the GPP guy, get in there and fire, 10, 15 lineups, whatever it may be. A lot of guys mass enter up to 150 lineups, which again is another strategy, but he'll always be taking a little bit more of the discussion and approach of preparing you for those GPPs, and I'll be talking a little bit more on the cash single entry side. So just as a reminder to everybody as we get in, to start looking at the teams.
Absolutely. I like my GPPs. I will play a little bit of cash games, but you gotta risk it for the biscuit once in a while, Coach. I like to risk it.
Yeah.
I like that sweat where you're watching yourself go up and down in the rankings. I enjoy it. Even if it's doing low dollar GPPs, like I'm not sitting out there, doing 150 entries in a $25 contest. The most I generally do is, max out a $4 entry in like a 20 max contest or a 40 max contest. That's generally my limit, but I take the same approach. You got to take some shots here and there. You take ownership into account, and again, look for every single edge you can have, whether it's a narrative or a little secret stat you found underneath a rock, whatever it may be. Take advantage of it.
No question. All right, let's jump into these teams. We have 10 teams to get through today, and again, we want to be able to touch on them enough just to remind everybody to take a few notes on a few of these people, or maybe it helps you feel comfortable with who you're high on or who you think you're going to fade initially, and getting a feeling there. So we're going to start off in the Atlantic Division with the Boston Celtics. I'll get the ball rolling there a little bit. Again, part of the interesting part with the Celtics will be they've got 4 guys of their rotation that played on this wonderful Team USA shenanigans that went on in the FIBA World Cup. So, there's 2 different schools of thought there, and, you can really take it either way. I can tell you which way I look, but a lot of people initially like to fade those guys because they figure they haven't had proper rest. They're going to need, a little time to get 100%, ready and physically rebounded from playing in FIBA. And then there's others that take the other approach, that they're fit and they've been playing and they're ready to roll. That's sort of the approach that I like to take with people coming out of these. Now, where I put a little asterisk on all these guys that played is 3/4 way through the season. I think a lot of them will hit the wall a little bit earlier than they normally do, just based on playing throughout the summer. So these are notes that I'll have for later on in the season. I don't expect it to affect things initially. So obviously the big news is going to be it's Kemba's team. Kemba comes in, is going to run the show. The reins are handed over to him, to lead these young guys who are coming off a phenomenally disappointing season. With Kyrie and that whole fiasco. I think personally early on here, the guys I think that will benefit from Kemba being there are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think those 2 guys, you can look for an uptick. Obviously, they played together all summer. I think that, they realize now they're not – it's just a totally different mindset than when they were playing with Kyrie. I think that those guys will come in and be ready to contribute and make some noise early on. They also added Enes Kanter at center that should get some quality minutes. One highlighted guy I think to keep an eye on is Robert Williams the third. He's a young guy that I think will get in their rotation and get some minutes. And then obviously you can't, not mention Gordon Hayward after the horrific injury. Generally guys that are coming back from those kind of injuries take a full season or so until they're back to themselves. And hopefully that's where Hayward will be, and we'll see an initial uptick with his output. But go ahead. You can jump in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree. I wanted to circle back a little bit to them, them playing in FIBA and then coming in here. The only caveat I have with that is that 2 of their core players got hurt during the FIBA games as well. Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart. So those are 2 guys that are coming out of just playing a summer's worth of ball, nursing an injury, going into a preseason game, which, I could play devil's advocate and say, well, their core four just played together a few games and practiced together plenty. So that's the only caveat I have, and I guess that's one you can only really have with the Celtics because not too many other players were severely injured or even remotely hurt during the FIBA games. But so that's like the only maybe those two players you might want to just shy away from a little bit. Again, we'll get into their actual DFS worth, the night when they're playing, and we jump into the research. We check out the minutes, distributed last season and usage and other things. But I'm looking for a lot of the same things with you. I'm also going to look to see how this team plays, without Al Horford on their team. Al Horford used to slide over to the 5 and be able to be that stretch 5 for them now, kind of space the floor for their shooters. Create a lane for Kyrie Irving when he was there, and now we're kind of seeing a whole different approach. We're going to have Enes Kanter planted down in the paint. He's not a very versatile guy. You kind of know his game of what it is, and it's going to be dependent on their shooters. How well is Gordon Hayward going to be able to shoot when he's playing stretch 4? You're going to need guys like Jaylen Brown to step up, and you're going to absolutely need Jason Tatum to come into his third year and just crush it. We need to see a big leap from him, and Kemba's the type of guy where he's never really played against alongside of another offensive force, let alone had other options on the team that he can even count on. I mean,
right.
Nicholas Batum coming off of a few wrist surgeries late in his career. They drafted bums every single year that they've had a chance to, other than him pretty much. Bridges looks good, but talking about everybody in between, it's not very good names. So it's going to be a big adjustment for a team overall. And I mean, Marcus Smart, he's finally going to be able to play backup point guard again. So that's going to be another big factor when you're looking at DFS and just season-long things is a lot of the times he was playing, the 2 guard. And now he gets a little bit more ball handling responsibility. Maybe we see a little uptick in assists and just guaranteed minutes. When it's late in the fourth quarter and it's a close game, he's going to be on the court.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that I'll tell you that the East is weak. So they've got a shot to make some noise, but without Tatum taking the next step, almost to an all-star type level, and Hayward rebounding to where, he was before the injury, I'm not sure how deep I would predict them going, but, certainly a team, Boston has a tendency to be overpriced a little bit. I don't know if it's because DraftKings is home base is in Boston, and I don't know if that's a narrative that really anybody talks about. I think Boston has a tendency to get a little bit overpriced because of that, but just something to keep an eye on. All in all, I think initially Kemba's going to be way too expensive out of the gate, and some of the secondary guys might be the early plays. But, it doesn't hurt to start looking at that pricing in your own brain, and so that when it does finally come out, you can say, okay, this guy wasn't nearly as expensive that I thought he was going to be, or vice versa. That may help present some of your value for you right off the bat.
Absolutely. And again, it's going to be very dependent on the matchup as well. So we're going to have to see what these guys are priced at and who they're facing. And a lot of the people on the beginning and opening nights just might look at, that's too much for a guy, but and look at last year's sample size, a little bit too much as far as defenses. Teams change. You have to factor in, what that player did on the former team he was, what the drafted players are going to account for as well. So a team that might have been one of the league's worst defenses last year might be middle of the pack this year. And you're not going to even be able to find that out until we get a decent sample size.
Well, and beating the field to that sample size is what we're all about trying to figure out right now. That's why we're grinding out these podcasts and looking at all of these scenarios. And you're right. We're doing a brush over the top just to, get everybody's mind thinking about these players and what roles they're going to play. But, for those transferring into DFS for the first time or newer to it that have played leagues, year-long leagues, nothing matters the day before, the day after. It's that 48-minute game against that matchup that night. So it really, you have to hone in, and we'll do that as we break down the games each night prior to them being played. But again, this is to give you just sort of a brush over to give you a feel for it. But you're right, man. It's going to be interesting, and I think Boston is one of those teams that the jury's definitely out on them to determine what they're going to have to offer. All right, let's jump on. Why don't you get us rocking and rolling with Team 2 here, the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh yeah. The Nets are going to be a team to watch. I mean, obviously the big offseason acquisitions of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and then shipping D'Angelo Russell across the country over to Golden State, where I'm sure he's probably much happier. But it's going to be a big change. But again, we're kind of seeing a swap that we can gauge a lot of the future results off of. Kyrie Irving, a high usage point guard. D'Angelo Russell, high usage point guard. So, that being the big switch, because obviously Kevin Durant's not going to be playing this season with the Achilles injury. We're going to keep an eye on that. But I also want to see exactly what a full, healthy Karis LeVert looks like. It's a thing that gets forgotten about, I think, in the past tense when we talk about how good he really was before that gruesome ankle injury. He was absolutely, like, D'Angelo Russell was not even having a chance to play at an all-star caliber level when Karis LeVert was on the court. He was just absorbing the usage. He just looked like a different player that we've seen in the past. He was looking like his college days when he looked healthy. But, that's one thing I'm gearing up, because that is going to drastically change things. And now we also are looking at a team on the defensive end who was notoriously known for being the worst team against bigs. Everybody would just crush them in rebounding, and then they bring in DeAndre Jordan as well. So that's another thing that, like I just said moments ago, a team that might have been looked at as one of the worst rebounding or defensive teams might be one of the a mediocre team. I don't think they're going to be anything great, because I still expect them to split some decent minutes with Jared Allen. I mean, Jared Allen's a very good defender too, but he's more of a shot blocker, I think, than a great defender. But it's definitely going to impact them. 20 minutes of DeAndre Jordan is going to absorb some defensive blows. It's going to be able to absorb rebounds, and it's something that we're going to have to take into account for. And having that kind of edge where some other guys who are just looking at past stats and last year's stats, who aren't really just thinking everything through, might be targeting them. Yeah,
no question. And it's last year it was a plug and play for me. Like you said, whatever center was going against Brooklyn, you just lock it in. I mean, they were the 30th in the league against centers, so that will change. DeAndre Jordan is definitely a game changer there. I can't stand, and I always I talk about this 10 times a show, but I'm a minutes equal money guy and usage guy. So Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan are just not even in my on my compass. I don't want guys splitting the game. It's not going to help me win that 48-minute DFS game. Now, if one of them's dinged up or that kind of thing, then jump on them. They also have a young guy in Nicholas Claxton that I think has a chance to make the team as a third center. He was fantastic in Summer League. I mean, just jump out of the gym energy, and just terrific young player out of Georgia. I think he's got a great future, and I hope they keep him on the squad. He may, if he's not getting minutes, they may throw him down to the G League to get some extra time. But I am not going to be messing around with the center position with Brooklyn early on. Something to keep an eye on. I agree with you. Karis LeVert was just looking, extraordinary before the injury. He came back a lot quicker from the injury than I had anticipated. Was watching the game when he got hurt, and like you said, it was gruesome, but he bounced back pretty quick and started getting his legs under him at the end of the year. It looked like, and all reports seem that he's going to be fine coming into the season. So, Kyrie's, his role with the team, how that's going to take place. Did he learn from the Boston nightmare? We'll see. You always got Dinwiddie and Joe Harris that on a given night, if you pick them again, it can win you a tournament or win you some serious cash game money. So they definitely play at a up tempo. I think they will continue to do so, and I don't anticipate they'll be anywhere short on shooting up threes and tempo. So they'll still be in play on a given night. I mean, young guy Kuruks, his second year, I think it'll be fun to watch to see how he develops. He's got some good ability, but I know he's had a few off-court issues this summer, so we'll see if that affects anything. But certainly a team in transition. I think the fact that the Barclays Center is going to sell out because the fans are all going ballistic for the Nets right now will help them in home games. I'd give them a big tick up on nights when they're playing at home. But it'll be fun to see. I think that this will be one of those teams that if they mesh and can make the playoffs and then get KD back next year, who the heck knows what can happen.
And it is one of the teams that I like to go and watch because I'm over here in Connecticut. So basically every team that we'll be talking about, on here, the first three, I'll say, are within driving distance from me. So those are the three teams that if I'm going to any games, those are the teams I'm watching. And going to the Barclays Center, that stadium is absolutely beautiful. It's like brand new. It looks like right when you walk in. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's an awesome atmosphere. Same thing, going to TD Garden and going to the Mecca. Those are the three unreal fun stadiums. I've never actually been to any other stadiums but those three. So that's on the bucket list this year, Coach.
Wow.
I got to get to another stadium other than those three.
Yeah, well, we got to get you down here, get you to see a Mavs game at least. I mean, you didn't get to see Dirk, but you get to see Luka and KP.
Oh, I saw Dirk. I saw Dirk. I got him on a road game. I made sure I got some Dirk in my life. But no, you're right. I do need to get down there. I've always wanted to just kind of go. My uncle used to live in Houston, so never actually got to go visit him out there. But that was on the bucket list, was to go to Rockets Mavs game because he was a Houston guy.
I'll have to sit down and make a list of all the places I've been to see games. I've probably been to at least 15 or so different stadiums to see games, basketball games. I'll have to make that list at some point. And some of them are now defunct. They're not even playing. So that goes to show you. But all right, man, let's keep this train moving. And let's jump into the New York Knickerbockers for the old school folks, or as the kids call them, the Knicks, the New York Knicks. Obviously coming off the disappointing offseason and the disaster of not getting their big name guys. They as everybody knows, I think just took a big pile of money and threw it up against the wall and see what players it stuck to, and just signed like 6 different forwards to overinflated contracts. So God only knows what they're doing. But the Knicks are going to be interesting. I'm a big fan of their coach. I think he was a fantastic coach at the Grizz and wherever he had coached prior. But Coach Fizz, to me, knows the game. So I'm hoping he has a plan. I'm sure he didn't expect it to sort of unravel to not get the big name guys. But let's talk about what they do have. They've got a guy in Dennis Smith who, from a fantasy standpoint, I usually am very wary of, because he is one of those guys that percentage-wise is not the guy that you're looking for and can put a lot of donuts up on the board. But if you catch him against the right matchup on the right night, he can be good. I mean, he's obviously explosive, best vertical in the game. I guess not as high as Zion's, but pretty close or close to it. But, he's going to probably be starting at the point. They added Elf off the shelf to back him up. Then obviously the number 2 pick, RJ Barrett. How is he going to play? As my buddy Adrian Benjamins, we did some podcasts from Summer League this year. I was riding old RJ Barrett really hard because it just looked like he was a duck out of water half the time. He just didn't look smooth to me. Looked a little overrated. So I know a lot of people really like him. I think he's going to be a strong player. but I would say keep your eye on him a little bit before you sink anything into him early on. He's going to probably carry a fairly good price tag because he'll certainly get a good chunk of minutes right off the bat. The main guys, I think, to put a circle around early on are Julius Randle, because he's just a DFS god, man. He'll knock anybody out of the way, even if it's his own teammate, to get every rebound. He's always looking to stuff the stat sheet, so you got to love a guy like that for your DFS squad. I think he's a guy that, hopefully not priced up too high, is probably going to come out of the chute firing. So he's on my watch list, no doubt about it. Then, a big sweetheart from everybody last year, Mitch Robinson. He blocks everything in sight. He played summer league ball, which I thought was shocking this year after being their starting center, but got to see him play quite a bit. He does block a ton of shots, man, but still gets in tremendous foul trouble. There was a game where you get 10 fouls in the summer league, and it was about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he had picked up his 7th, and it was like, okay, is this going to transfer over into the season again where he's just, sitting on the bench? I mean, he would put up good stats in 15, 18 minutes, a good DFS line when you could get him at a good price. But, that's you're not going to get that, I don't believe, this year because, the word's out on him. He's going to be more expensive. And if he starts crushing you with having to sit on the bench in foul trouble, that's a killer. So, that's a guy, obviously boom or bust guy, on a given night with the matchup. I'm probably going to be all over him. There's going to be a lot of times, though, I'm fading him, I can tell you right now. And then the last guy I wanted to touch on is I like Bobby Portis. I know a lot of people give him a hard time, and he is a little bit off the wall and unpredictable, but he's just that little bit of crazy that I like on the court, like you're not sure if he's going to dunk on you, punch you in the nose, or what's going to happen. But I like that he keeps everybody off base. And I'll tell you, there was a stretch of games for Washington last year after he got traded where he was fantastic when he got the minutes. They let him play at the 4 because he can play 4-5, and he could run the floor like a gazelle, and definitely a guy that is probably going to be a cheap price early on that you can use. So the Knicks, probably of any team in the league, are going to be the most interesting to see what's going to develop there. But that's just sort of my overlay on it initially.
No, and I mean, I'm glad you touched on Bobby Portis because he's the one guy that I think is like the pivot to Mitchell Robinson. Because if that's going to be the starting front court, if Mitchell Robinson gets in foul trouble, Portis is probably the most likely that's going to come in and play the 5. So he can actually see that benefit of guaranteed. I would say about 22 minutes, 18 to 22. And then on the occasion where Mitch Rob gets into foul trouble, Bobby Portis playing 24, 26 minutes is good. Anybody that knows Bobby Portis, has watched him played, has followed his career at all, knows that he does not like to pass the ball. He just basically will take the most errant shots, which is great for DFS because we don't care about their field goal percentage, just their overall stats. So I'll let him shoot all day long.
Yeah. And you know what, though? What my question to you is this, and my concern initially is with them signing all those small power forwards and centers. I mean, they gave Taj Gibson a bunch of money, Marcus Morris, Wayne Ellington. They have Barrett and Knox and Randall and Portis and Robinson. How is this going to play out on minutes, dude?
It's going to be a lot of divvying up. I think, eventually they'll get down to their fourth quarter rotation, and once we see those guys on a consistent basis, we'll have a better idea. Morris is a guy who, in the past, we've seen him play a little bit of the 3, so he can kind of squeeze himself into there and, chop away some of Knox's minutes. But, looking at a backup standpoint, I would assume that Bobby Portis is going to primarily be the backup center and, maybe see a couple power forward minutes here and there. Taj Gibson's going to basically be a veteran presence picking up a few minutes from both center and power forward. And then, like I said, Morris is probably going to get a little bit of time at the 3 and the 4, but probably play more of the 3 is what I'm going in there. My assumption, it's the New York Knicks, so anything is possible.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think, trying to figure out what those rotations are going to be, early on, again, if we're trying to make some bankroll, build up some bankroll early, I think Randall's got to be your initial go-to guy. But, it's, again, like you said, it's the Knicks. But I do have faith in Coach Fizz. So, Fizdale's, generally has a good basketball mind. So I think he'll get the right guys on the court at some point.
Well, I'm not a completely data-driven guy. Obviously, I love to watch the game, and I take every aspect into account. But we might be butting heads if I pull out some of the stats I got on him from last year. So we'll save those from when we talk about them a little bit more in depth.
On Fizz, are you talking about?
Oh, his coaching.
Well, he did. That was 100%, 1,000,000,000% on purpose. They made the decision that they were trying to get the number 1 pick to get Zion, and that would be part of them grabbing Kyrie and KD. They were in a total tank mode. I mean, if you see some interviews with Fizz and, even their stupid owner that is, really the root of all of their issues, they had basically said it without saying it, So I would take any stats Fizz put up last year and flush him down the toilet. There were literally games we were watching, my son and I, and we said, why did he take those guys out and put these guys in and blew that game? Well, that's because they didn't want to win, man. So, but if you go back and look at what he had to work with, like with the Grizz and stuff back, a couple of years back, the guy's good. I'm telling you, he's a good coach.
My one pressing thing with him is just they went out there, they spent all that money on Mario, and I think what was the last 5 games of the season they wanted to try some things out. So initially the report came out when they brought him over, he was fully expecting to only play point guard. When he came over, that's the whole reason he signed with the Knicks. He was expected to be their primary point guard. That's what he was told. Then when push came to shove, he wasn't playing point guard. He was playing small forward. So I think that's why a little bit at the end of the season, you got to see him play point guard. It's A, because they needed one, and B, he in his mind, he thinks he's a point guard. He really wanted to play that, and I'm guessing that's part of the reason why he's gone. His vision wasn't there with the coaching vision, and it's probably a good thing that he didn't play point guard. He's got errant handles. It would probably be 11 turnovers a game. But if you're playing for nothing, let the guy play. Let's see. Give us something to watch. Guys like me who go to these games for tanking teams. I mean, this is other than the Celtics for the past few years. I've been watching Knicks and Nets games for the past I don't know how long. So I'm kind of underprivileged over here.
Yeah, that's tough. That's always bothers me too when the whole load management thing. When you have people that save up to take their whole family to 1 or 2 games a year at the most, and then you got load management days and you don't even get to see the main guys play. That just really chaps me. I don't agree with that at all.
I'm right there, and it's happened firsthand to me. I don't know if these guys up there and the general managers and everybody coaching, and when they realize you're not just buying a ticket. Like, I could tell you firsthand going into New York, going into Boston, it's not cheap. Just being there for a day to taking trains, doing what you have to do to get around, and it ends up being a full day event, like you said. And once you take your family, now it's it's going on vacation for a day.
It's big bucks. Well, before we transfer off of the Knicks, let's hear a quick snippet from my man Julius Randle and his excitement about joining the Knicks.
Man, I'm very excited. I say it's a dream come true for me. Being able to play for this iconic franchise and had this opportunity ahead of me. So I'm excited.
What went into the decision? How many options did you have, and why in the end did you pick?
I had a lot of options. I just felt like this opportunity for me was the greatest opportunity. I feel like there's no fan base, no organization, that's starving and hungry to win more than the Knicks in the NBA. And I don't think there's a better place in the NBA to win than with the Knicks in New York. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And like I say, every day I wake up, man, I pinch myself because I'm excited.
All right. As you can hear, Julius is definitely stoked up and ready to go. I think we're going to see some big numbers from him this year. Why don't you roll us on to one of my favorite teams this season, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yes, and this is a team that we know is loaded with season-long fantasy assets, and even DFS. Joel Embiid, we've seen put up one of the biggest scores last season. Ben Simmons, a walking triple-double. But Butler's gone now. He's over in Miami. We have a few additions being with Al Horford and Josh Richardson, and there's a lot to figure out. For me, the number one thing I'm looking at going in there is fourth quarter leads. Does Embiid even see the court? They can have a couple of solid options being like Al Horford at the 5 and Tobias Harris sliding over, playing the 4, and there's a lot of things now that I think that kind of allows them to just coast into playoffs and have a fully healthy team to take a real stab at it this year. Ben Simmons, though, I mean, does he have a jump shot yet? Probably not. It's going to be a thing that we still have to watch for. It's still a thing that we need to keep an eye on, but it's most likely not there. And again, I mentioned it, I think, on the first episode. Guys like Josh Richardson and Al Horford, they're not guys I'm going to be initially targeting. They're going to be guys I'm looking to play when we know, like Ben Simmons is out, I'll play Josh Richardson. If Embiid's out, I'll play Al Horford. We'll take our shots on them in the right situations. But this team's almost, I wouldn't say a stay away, but unless it's Embiid or Simmons, which is pretty much the situation last year, I'm not really looking to play anybody else.
That makes sense. I've got a quiz question for you. Do you know who I have just as many NBA threes in my career as?
Well, it's probably not JJ Redick or Steve Kerr. So
he plays on the Sixers. It's our man Ben Simmons. I think the world is going to stop when he hits a 3. I think that's when we know the global warming has taken its final step to melting the earth, when he drops a 3. So who knows, man? But I'm with you, man. I'm pumped about the Sixers. They were my pick last year, and that unbelievably gruesome quadruple bounce of that 3-point shot from Kawhi still rings true to me. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that ball went in. But I love the move the Sixers made. I think defensively they're going to be an absolute monster to play against as well. Josh Richardson is a shutdown, all defensive league type guy. Tobias, Al Horford, Embiid, if he is right, can lead the league in blocks. And Simmons, what a difficult matchup as a 6'10" point guard for people. So they're going to be a monster. I think they're going to be a really fun team. I think they're going to push Milwaukee as far as who wins the East. And, DFS-wise, I know that it's going to be adjustment. I mean, you've got some major pieces that have come in now, but I wouldn't be afraid at all, to jump on the Joel Embiid bandwagon. I think Tobias Harris is always consistent as well. From a DFS standpoint, a lot of times Tobias comes in at a fair price and is a good fit for lineups. And, Embiid obviously is going to be one of the more expensive centers, but depending on the matchup, even though Horford, yes, he's going to take a few of his rebounds and this and that, but, Horford is going to space the floor. He's not going to get in Embiid's way in the paint. So, I would shy a little more away from Horford statistically when, he was one of the go-to guys down the stretch for Boston last year. I think, that will fall much more in the hands of Simmons, Embiid, and Harris. Josh Richardson is another guy I took a ton last year when he was the number one option with the Heat. All of a sudden he's now a fourth or fifth option. So, he's certainly going to suffer in DFS usage. But Simmons is a guy. He's interesting, man. I would take him. He's expensive. He'd put up 50, 55 fantasy points for me and still only shoot 30, 35% from the field. But he just rebounds and assists and does everything out there. So always a fun guy to take. Definitely a stat stuffer. He's a great guy because I don't like him in year long in my other leagues that I play because his percentages are so poor and he doesn't he's dead in threes and everything else. But on a DFS standpoint, when he has one of his 24 point, 14 assists, 14 rebound games, you don't care about percentages. They make no difference whatsoever. He's just a DFS, god out there. So I'll be on the Sixers early. I'm not going to be afraid of other than Horford, I think may take a small step back statistically, but their bench took a little bit of a hit. If you look at their backups, they've got Trey Burke, Zaire Smith, Mike Scott, Jonah Bolden. I mean, not the depth that they've had in past years. So, how that's going to come into play. Will we see a little more usage from their top 5 or 6 guys? I think we probably will. So they'll be high on my list early on. I think they want to get out of the chute and let Milwaukee know it's going to be fight to the end. So.
Well, I mean, we just got to hope that Mike Scott's not fighting any Philly fans in the parking lot before games. That's probably my number one concern with their bench. I think it was he at the Eagles game and he got into a little brawl, a little scuffle.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dumb enough to mess with Mike Scott, he is a bad dude, man. I wouldn't mess with him. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. If he can keep his head about him, he's a good bench guy. But I would definitely want him on my team. That's for sure. Not against.
No, yeah, I think he might be up there with James Johnson as two of the tougher guys that you wouldn't want to pick a fight with.
Yeah, I probably would say I totally agree with you on both of those guys. Those are sort of like the Spider-Man versus Spider-Man meme that you always see. Those two guys. I'd love to see those. Can you imagine those two squaring off? Oh my gosh!
Well, I think James Johnson. I think he's like a black belt in it's either like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or karate or one or the other. So I'm putting my money on the guy that legally can't touch people with his hands in the wrong way like that. He's got lethal weapons.
He would kill you before you knew what hit you.
Exactly.
Snap would be over.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much all I got for Philly. I mean, like I said, it's their core 5 is just too good where I think it's going to impact everybody a little bit. But like you said, the only guys I'd probably really consider, Tobias Harris, I think is more of a cash guy. I don't think he's not going to be really tournament viable this year. Just the ceiling is not going to be there. He's not much of a guy that he doesn't get a lot of steals or blocks. He's not doing in defensive categories.
Right.
And
he's matchup dependent too, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I just don't see the avenue of him even going off. The occasional 28, 30-point game is going to be in his arsenal. But there's going to be a lot of other guys out there that are going to want to get fed as well. So they're going
I'll tell you though, they went in the fourth quarter to take that last outside shot. They almost exclusively went to Butler last year. I think he's going to get those looks this year.
He absolutely should. He's a far better 3-point shooter than Butler. I'm pulling this number off the top of my head. It just kind of stands out, but I believe it was something along the lines of 39% or 38.8% from 3, which is pretty darn good. He was 3-point contest guy, so Tobias Harris can ball. He can shoot. It's the strongest asset of his game.
Yeah, he's got the full game, and he got the full money too. So he's got to show it for sure. All right, let's roll on. I'll jump on the start of the defending world champion Toronto Raptors. That still doesn't sound right to me, but I get it. I mean, they did it. They won it. So, I am from the school of thought of number one, it was just sort of an incredible thing that they won it. And two, they lost a guy that single-handedly won it. So, I don't know if this team is, and you can call me crazy, and I'm sure I'll see the tweets and some of the responses, but I don't even know if they're just a periphery playoff team, even in the East. That's just, I know it sounds crazy, but I don't know. You've got, Kyle Lowry there, who is obviously a sound point guard, steady. I don't know if you'd consider him an all-star anymore at this point. Maybe. I mean, he's right on that periphery, but he's a fine player. The rest of their starting lineup, as it's looking, though, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, who everybody's talking about as, the most improved player in the league. And then you've got a Marc Gasol who's getting up there, and Serge Ibaka, who's not the youngest guy. Not exactly a team that scares you to death. In fact, even on their bench, Van Vliet had an unbelievable playoff run. They picked up Stanley Johnson, no thank you. Rondé Hollis Jefferson, no thank you. I'm not sure where their punch is going to come from. From a DFS standpoint, it's got to come from somewhere. So there's some value here to be found. I just personally haven't figured out exactly where that value is from. You look at statistically, Lowry, especially Van Vliet, a couple of those guys just played way above their heads in the playoffs of their normal statistics and percentages. So, I guess, Siakam's going to come with a very expensive price tag. The fact that he's definitely, in my opinion, the best player on this team, I think that's the guy you have to start and end with when it comes to DFS, because if he does step up, and the question is, now that he's also number one on the chalkboard for the opposing coach to defend, can he step up to that challenge will be the question. So, I'm a monster Raptors fade guy early on. I think, for multiple reasons. You've got Gasol coming off a championship in FIBA where he played his guts out, and he's no younger. You got Lowry coming off thumb surgery, and Siakam, first time having to be the main man. Fade City, brother.
I'm with you. I mean, at the end of the day, we got to imagine that these Raptors play at a slower pace now. They're going to have to rely on their defense. I could see them being a little bit more of a grit team, just trying to edge it out, holding on until the fourth quarter and then pulling out wins like that.
Sort of like an old grind city type Memphis team.
Exactly. You're right. They're going to maybe call Tony Allen out of retirement though.
Yeah.
They'll need something. They'll need a little bit more. I mean, OG, great defender. The appendectomy took him out of the playoffs, but he's a guy that he's a young kid, but he's long, he's athletic, he's got very good footwork. He's probably one of the better younger defenders in the league. Marc Gasol still in his age, he still knows how to use his feet the right way, get to the spots in the court where he needs to be. Serge Ibaka, his blocks have been continuously going down every season, but he's a guy that he can still get up there and he can still pin a couple against the backboard. So I'm not as much worried about them on defense as I am offense, like you said. But they're also not a team that I might be targeting, opposing teams to go against either. So it's not only just Fadesville for me on them. Maybe Kyle Lowry, depending on the price. I'm expecting a slight increase in usage. Probably won't be anything crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to be looking at fading the teams facing them for a good amount of time until we kind of get a better indication of exactly what their pace is going to look like.
And I agree with you. I mean, I think Nick Nurse is a good coach, and I think he realizes his best chance is to shorten the game. I mean, because he's going to be outmanned on a lot of nights. So he's going to have to shorten the game, grind it out, defend. Gasol and Ibaka are great defenders. So, even though they're getting older. So I guess, I'm with you. I think just definitely don't want to have, your big bucks on like, Siakam and the best player from the other team is playing Toronto early on, and then, the game ends up 89-84 and you're dead in the water. So, I'm 100% with you. And that's such a weird conversation to have about the defending champions. It's mind boggling, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. All right, we'll keep on moving here. I think we're time-wise doing decently, running just a little bit long, but our shows are always long. We got a lot of info to share, and that's just the way it goes, man. That's why it's podcasts. You can listen to us in sections. That's the nice thing. Let me throw in here real quickly so I don't lose sight of it going on. Is again, just to mention that our presenting sponsor is Fantasy Draft. Make sure to play this Sunday in the $750,000 NFL Hooters guaranteed rate-free contest. Again, go to fantasydraft.com, use the promo code HoopBall, all one word, and you get 7 days free membership up to $1,000 in tournaments or cash play, any way you want to play it. It's completely rake-free. And go after it and try to be a big shark out there like my man Mike Apotria. And I want to mention this also now, so at the end of the show we mention it again. We want to get as much input from these shows from everybody out there that we can. We've been getting a terrific response so far, but keep giving us more info on what you want to see, what you want to hear, what's going to help you, what questions you have. Because as we get closer and closer, as we said, 11 days till the first preseason game, we want to have everything fine-tuned to when we're doing our daily shows and getting you ready to attack that night's card to just crush it, that we're giving you the info that you need. So you can find me on Twitter at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi, or you can find my man here at Mike Apotria. That's MikeApotria. You can also catch both of us at hoop-ball.com on the forums. We're on there. And when you listen to these podcasts and joining in, or you're telling somebody, hey, catch the Hoop-Ball NBA DFS podcast, you can listen to us through any of our partners. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere podcasts are heard. And please, we would ask you, take a minute, rate, review, subscribe, give us the 5 stars, the likes, the thumbs up, the positive, any positive input you can give us. We're able to bring you this free content, which this in-depth content is usually on most sites behind the paywall, but we're planning on continuing to give you this free content, grow the show. We want to continue to support our hoopball.com, who's Dan Besbris and the team behind us there, does all the hard work to put all of this production together. And then certainly Fantasy Drafter being our main sponsor. All right, man, we got that out of the way. So before we jump into the Chicago Bulls, who are next on our roster, let's listen into the coach. Happens to be one of my favorite coaches because he's old school, tough knuckles, get down, get dirty coach, Mr. Jim Boylan, as he has a couple of things to say about this coming season with the Chicago Bulls.
We set out to add high character, veteran depth. We wanted to improve our shooting. We wanted to improve our playmaking and ball handling, and we wanted to improve our speed and quickness. So we felt like we knocked a lot of those boxes off. To me, you've heard me talk about it, like I want our spirit of the team to be right, and I want guys with character that care about playing for the Bulls, and Bulls across their chest means something. I think that's important. We play for a tough city. We got to be tougher. We got to be more competitive, and I think we got the character guys that can do that.
All right, man, there it is. My old school bald-headed brother coach, Jim Boylan. We got the same looking dome. You want to jump on the Chicago Bulls of the Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen era.
Well, I mean, we could talk about that
Horace
era.
Grant.
Yeah. I mean, the Kerr. Don't forget the Kerr.
Yes, John Paxson. Don't get me started, Dennis Rodman. Go ahead.
All right.
Hey, if you have a chance, did you catch the 30 for 30 that came out last week about Dennis Rodman?
No, I did hear about it.
I watched it. It's painful, man. I expected it to be painful, but it was even more painful. God forbid. That guy needs help, dude. He's going to end up face down in a gutter.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. Yeah, always being a guy known for just being outlandish and in the news and everything ever since he was a player. So times have not changed. Generally, when you retire, the cameras kind of come off of you a little bit. With him, it was a little bit of the opposite. They're on him. But
Ouch.
As far as current Bulls, there's a few new faces. There's a few competitions going on. We got some guys coming back from injury, so it's going to be a little bit jumbled up. I think with them, there's spots that we could capitalize off of, but just not completely yet. I personally believe that Satoransky, the guy that they brought in there, is the best point guard on the team. Anybody that kind of heard me on the box score breakdowns and a few of those last season, I was hinting towards it. I mentioned it as soon as Wall got hurt. I said, grab him. He's a guy that will be top 75 player when he's starting caliber. But right now we do have Chris down there. He's a guy that he's still young. There's teams that maybe want to take a chance on him. Maybe they just want to showcase him a little bit before they move him. He mentioned playing there and being happy to be there, but we can all imagine that no one's really happy with the situation right now. So, but as long as he is there, I would fully expect at least 16, 18 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe even a little bit more from them, and they're kind of going to eat into each other's value. You
think Dunn is going to get that many minutes?
I think so. I mean, if they want to trade him, they need to show him play. I'm not saying necessarily showcase him.
Yeah.
And he's on the, even though they're bringing Satoransky in there, I do think he's going to play at least 18 to 22 minutes is where I would think Dunn is. Satoransky playing probably about 28, 30.
What about Kobe White, the rookie?
That's a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll probably see him play about 15, 18. That Satoransky's probably playing a little bit at the 2 as well. But I assume all three of these guards are going to have to play. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they want to pull Kobe along a little bit slower. But, Satoransky's there for a reason. They signed him. And Dunn was a guy that, I mean, before he kind of, busted his face, he was playing great. So I don't think he's their future. I don't think they think he's part of the future. But I also think he's one of the biggest assets that they're willing to part with still left on the team.
Right. I'm with you.
I mean, that's all I really got for the Bulls as far as that. I mean, I will be keeping an eye on Lauri Markkanen. He's going to obviously very well be the focal point of their offense, and I think Levine's always a great DFS option. Big tournament guy, high volume shots, handles the ball, plays heavy minutes, always playing heavy minutes, plays through a little bit of injury as well. So, with them, those are the only two spots I'm really going to be targeting. Wendell Carter Jr., yes, he's there. Again, another situation that we're going to have to monitor as far as minutes, though.
Right. Well, I'll start off by saying I saw Kobe White play a lot this summer in the summer league, and I was very impressed. I liked him at North Carolina. I thought he was a decent player, but I think he's even a little bit better than I thought. He just was really in command of the floor. He needs to improve on his shot. But I think, I really think they're going to give him some minutes. And I think Satoransky's the starter. And I'm of the belief that Dunn might be the odd man out, or they try to move him early on. But, again, it is a muddled situation. I think Satoransky, he played fantastic in the FIBA games. He was one of the better point guards in the whole tournament. I think he'll be the most solid guy that might be an early on decent price that can get some value for you. I'm super high on Zach LaVine. I think this is Zach LaVine's year to take a step up, like to all-star level. I think he's going to be real high production. He's obviously shoots the ball a ton, which again, we don't care if he misses a bunch of shots in DFS. we love the Chuck and Duck guys, and Zach LaVine is definitely a Chuck and Duck guy. So I think he's going to get his shots up. I think he's, according to reports, completely healthy right now. He's obviously had major injuries through the years. So I'm expecting him to be a guy I focus on early on for the Bulls. Again, Jim Boylan plays some D, plays some old school ball, but he's going to let him run and move. I don't know. They'll probably be in the middle of the pack pace again, but I think Levine is a guy to definitely keep an eye on. Otto Porter, a guy that not a lot of people are talking about, is another one of those guys that can make or break you on a specific DFS night. I've taken him in cash games where he's poured in, 26 points, 12 rebound kind of nights, 4 steals. He's a really good defender. And then there's nights where he just sort of fades into it and he's, 8 points, one of those kind of nights, and it just kills you. So definitely a guy that has the potential. And if he gets into a rhythm, I think with the Bulls, could be a major DFS player. Lauri Markkanen's a guy. Lauri Markkanen always just is a concern for me. I mean, there are times when he looks terrific and times he looks terrible. So, he's a guy I've never quite gotten right in DFS. I mean, I think we all have our guys that you just can't get right no matter what you do. No matter what the matchup looks like, you either play him or not play him at the wrong time. And Markkanen's one of those guys for me. So I'm the worst guy to give an opinion on him. But I just don't see the level of what everybody was talking about with him early on, like all-star kind of level. I think he's a good player, but let's see what he brings this year. This will be a good test for him. They've got a full year now with Boylan, preseason and everything for them to learn the system, and we'll see where he goes from there. Wendell Carter, I think, has the potential, again, if he doesn't get in foul trouble and stays healthy, I think could be a terrific ball player. I think he'll do a nice job. And then 2 value guys to keep an eye on for Chicago. Daniel Gafford, the young center, he was awesome in the NBA Summer League. He looked like he belonged in the league and could play. I think he will be in the rotation. And they also signed Luke Cornett, who, again, as probably a real cheap option early on. If he gets 20, 25 minutes somehow, with the way he shoots the 3, he could cause a lot of trouble for teams and be a real fantasy find. So I think there's a lot of value to be found on the Bulls. I think, once they get their rotation set and, their pace determined, which should be, decent enough, I think, guys like Levine, Satoransky, cheap guys like Cornett, Gafford, I think are going to be major players.
I think Cornett is definitely going to impact Wendell Carter Jr.'s minutes. I mean, he can shoot 3. It's a guy that we saw in limited minutes over there in New York. Again, I'm one of the poor saps that on basic cable only gets to choose between 2 games. Which is why now I just watch exclusively off my laptop, and whenever I'd flip them on, Cornett wearing a mask was just stepping up at the top of the key. So
knocking a 3 down. Huh?
Yep, and he's by no means even close to being as good of a player as Wendell Carter Jr. He just adds a little bit of a different element to the game that Wendell Carter does not, and it's someone that can also spell him if he is looking, like you said, getting into foul trouble early. So that's the only reason why I'm probably gonna edge away from Wendell Carter Jr. in DFS for the beginning of the season. And like I said, we'll get to some other teams over the next few weeks, but there's going to be a lot of centers in good spots and early on that are going to be able to take advantage of it, who I think are going to fly a little under the radar.
No doubt. All right, keep on trucking here. I'll jump in with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I had a chance to catch a lot of the Cavs at the NBA Summer League, which was really a blast, and spent some time talking with their coach Beeline, who's actually an old friend of mine. Again, showing the age, but I worked summer camps for 5 years up when he was at Lemoyne University, well before he went to Michigan. And, so we talked for quite a while, took some pictures and stuff. I think we had him up on Hoop Ball. But, I'm obviously now a big Cavs fan now that my man Beeline is coaching there. So I'm rooting for him big time. But, the only thing Coach mainly said was he was most excited about his guards. He's always been a guard-heavy coach. And he likes playing 2 or 3 guards that can all shoot the ball from 3 and get up and down the floor. So I guarantee you Cleveland's going to play with a ton of pace, way more than they did before. And you're going to see a lot of production from, guys I'm really high on, Darius Garland, Colin Sexton especially, and Jordan Clarkson. I think those 3 guys are going to get a lot of play, a lot of run, score a lot of points, and they're going to be up and down the floor. So I'm excited for them. Jetty Osman had a nice little, even though he bricked the foul shots for Turkey, they could have beat the USA, and we thank him for that, because then we would have maybe been like 500 in that tournament. But anyway, he's coming back at the small forward. I think he's going to be pressed for some minutes by the guy that was my sleeper rookie of the NBA Summer League, Dylan Windler. I don't know if you know that much about him, but he's a terrific young player. Just look, cool and smooth out there. I think he'll really push Jetty for some minutes at the small forward. So, there's a great guy that'll be minimum price early that'll get some minutes that could win a GPP for you. So there you go. There's your first big GPP win, Mike. I get a mention out if I get some of these dudes in there.
Oh, no
then,
doubt.
Obviously, the rotation of their bigs with Kevin Love, Larry Nance, Tristan Thompson, and then Zizic, who's okay. The big question is what's going to happen with those guys. I know Coach Beeline likes to move the ball and run the floor. I know Love has the potential to get up and down. He's an awesome player when he's healthy and he's out there. I think they'll showcase him hard the first half, and he'll probably get moved at some point. That's just my gut feeling. So they can continue to build a young team. I'm going to stay far from the whole Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance, Zizic, all those bigs, because I think they're going to split minutes. I'm not sure how they're going to fit in that rotation of what Beeline's going to play early on. And I think I'd stick with the young guns on this team early on, and I think they'll be priced fair. So I think you'll be able to load up on a Garland, Sexton, or throw in a Yeti Osman, Sexton, Windler type super cheap. So then you can load up with the Hardens and stuff of the world and maybe take down a big one. So I'm excited for Cleveland. I know that's a weird thing to say, but again, being a Beeline fan and them being loaded with young guards, I think they're going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how that backcourt shakes out, with you. And I'm actually a big Jordan Clarkson fan myself, personally. I mean, he's a guy that as soon as I started watching him in LA, you get that, like you said, that eye test where certain players, I love the guys like the Jimmy, that's what drew me to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players because right when I saw him initially play, the energy he had, he was very, very high, like a high energy, high motor guy, up and down the court, made the hustle plays, and looked like he was just going to grow as a player. And Clarkson never really took that next step that I was kind of hoping to see, but he's a fantastic bench guy. I can't wait to see how they rotate the 3 guards, and I think you hit it with the front court. It's going to be a little annoying if we see Kevin Love playing 35 minutes. He's a DFS monster. He's a guy that we could definitely keep an eye on as long as he's healthy and playing that. But if he's going to be floating around 27, 28, it becomes a little less appetizing. And I'm going to stay away from Tristan Thompson. I would expect Nance to play a little bit more at the 5, like you said, with a faster pace team, faster tempo. Makes more sense for Nance to play the 5. He's a little bit more athletic and can run up and down the court a little bit more.
No doubt. All right, man, we're down to 3 teams. Let's crunch this out and get it done, and we'll have the Atlantic and Central under our belts. You have the Detroit Pistons.
The Pistons. So this is a team that we are going to see it's very similar. Andre, a lot of it's going to flow through the same spots. We've seen Derrick Rose come in. That's only going to kind of chop up the minutes between, Reggie Jackson. But, we kind of saw that anyway in the past. The one thing I'm going to keep, I think, the biggest attention on is going to be a healthy Blake Griffin. Before Blake Griffin started, getting hurt and going down, getting the knee soreness and ankle soreness, and he was playing at an all-star and an MVP caliber level almost. He was having a career year. So is he going to be back at that level? If so, then I'm probably going to be shying away from guys like Andre Drummond and pretty much anybody else on the team besides him, unless they're in one of those smash spots where they're going against the Suns or one of those teams that just cannot rebound. So that's that. I mean, they're kind of. I hate to just mull over it and be a little bit basic, but they're kind of a boring team. In all aspects of it. I mean, you take the two front court guys out of it, that's their juice.
Right.
That's basically where everything's coming from. So
they signed Joe Johnson. I think he's my age, but he's playing.
He's there. Hey, listen, it would not shock me to see Joe Johnson close the game here and there for them too.
Can knock down a shot, man.
Big shot Joe can knock it down he has no range.
No.
He was always one of the best shooters when it came to contested jumpers. He can get a shot over anybody. You're closing out. You got your hand in the face. He's fading away, falling out of bounds. You're thinking to yourself, "There's no way he hit that shot. He's not even going to be able to hit rim." And next thing you know, the opposing team is storming the court because he just hit a game winner. So I will love watching him. Will I put any money anywhere near him? No, that's not going to happen. It generally won't happen with any of their wing players for me. Not unless it's one of those 4-game slates where you're trying to get a little value in there. But generally, on an 8-game slate, we'll be able to find better value than what they have to offer, other than their main star guys.
You're right. They are definitely one of the more boring teams as far as what we're going to look to expect here. I think, guard wise, how do you got to fade all these guys right now. Their rotation of Jackson and Rose splitting the point. Bruce Brown's a nice young player, but maybe as a minimum, Luke Kennard, Tony Snell's there, and Joe Johnson. I don't feel comfortable with any of those guys to put my build around for fantasy. What I can say, though, is I have just a huge love in my heart for Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, because I always use one of those two guys in my lineup, I swear. One of them just seems to go for 20 and 16, or Drummond will go for 16 and 24. I got on the opposite end of, the not being able to pick the right guy. I just seem to always plug in Griffin or Drummond in the right time last year. And when, how you get your results on who you played the most during the year after the season's over on your DFS report. Griffin and Drummond were both on there for me. So, those are guys I'll be using one or the other. I seldom will use both, because generally one will go off and the other one's, decent, but they don't usually both have monster games. But if you pick the right one in the right situation, I'm telling you, they can win you some money. And I am living, breathing proof of that. So I'm on their bandwagon. I don't see anybody that's going to take any minutes of any matter from them. They've got Markieff Morris, Thon Maker, Christian Wood that, will spell them. But it's going to be the Griffin Drummond show there. And, it's really pretty much that simple with Detroit.
Exactly. And I would, like you said, I would never play both of them in the same lineup. You one off them, and I think those big rebounding days for Griffin are kind of long gone. We've seen him take the approach where he's shooting a little bit more from beyond the arc, and you really don't need both their bodies in the paint. Drummond's enough for two people.
They're monsters, though, man. They both on any night can go 20-20. They really can. I'm telling you, they're monsters.
I always got a special warm spot for any UConn players. Being in Connecticut, it's basically the closest thing I got to a pro sport in the state that I go watch.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, hey, they have a great history, no question. All right, 2 to go. I'm going to jump into the Indiana Pacers, and then I'll let you finish off with the East defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. So the Indiana Pacers, obviously, the excitement is Malcolm Brogdon gets to be a showcase guy for the first time. They bring him in for the big bucks. I think he's a stud. I'm excited to use him in fantasy because he does a little bit of everything. Now, you got to remember, though, the Pacers don't play at the best pace, sort of opposite of their name. You would think they would, but they definitely are a little bit more deliberate, especially with, Sabonis and Turner both supposedly starting this year together at the 4-5. That's the plan, according to, what they're saying preseason here. So, again, a team based on matchup, if they're playing a really high-paced team, that it's going to really help them. I think Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner are all in play until Oladipo comes back. Once Oladipo comes back, you reset the whole look of the Pacers. If he'll come back slowly or if he'll be ready to roll out of the chutes, obviously will be the biggest thing for DFS owners to watch, when that comes around. But until then, I think, you can feel comfortable with Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner, even maybe Jeremy Lamb, who was a good pickup for them in the offseason, and TJ Warren, another guy that, against the right matchup, if you play him on the right night, can do some damage. They're all playable guys. Again, this is not a team based on pace or the fact that they all share the ball so much that I would say, I'm going to stack up any Pacers. I think they're going to be definite one-off kind of guys that you have to look for in specific matchups. I think they'll be an improved team in the East, but not a real DFS darling.
No, and I think you basically said it with your words, but to me, their entire starting five, I mean, outside of Brogdon, who will probably be a little underpriced on opening night, they're pretty much a big cash team. Not a lot of, evenly distributed usage throughout all five of them. No one's really going to stand out as an offensive force. They can all score in their own ways and be, 12 to 15 point guys here and there, but none of them are really going to go out there and drop 35 on a given night. So I don't really look at any of them other than Brogdon, like I said early on, as viable tournament options, but they're all just safe guys with safe floors, decent ceilings for cash games, in my opinion.
Do you think they'll compete with the top dogs once Oladipo's back and healthy?
Top dogs in meaning the NBA or the East?
In the East, Milwaukee and Philly in general.
No, I don't think they can. I still don't think they're at the point where they can compete with Milwaukee. Yeah, they're definitely still a step below. They're ahead of, they're probably right there with Boston. Maybe a step ahead of Boston.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I agree with you. They are a team that can make some noise. I think if Oladipo's healthy, they're not a team I'd want to tangle with in the playoffs.
I don't see Sabonis and Turner working alongside of each other long term.
No.
No. I mean, there's a reason why they didn't do it for a while. There's games where Thad Young would miss, and they still would not want to play those guys next to each other.
That's true.
It's something that they shied away from. They mentioned. I honestly thought that one of them was going to be traded. I thought Thad Young was staying. Thad Young was their captain. I thought Thad Young would be sticking around, and I didn't think it was going to be Turner. I thought Sabonis was a good trade chip. And it, turns out they kept him around, and now he's going to be starting power forward, and that's great for him.
Well, we'll see. Like you said, is it only because they're having to do that, or is it because they'll play well together? So that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's not something I'm going to really like. If one of those guys misses again, jump on it. Turner we kind of know of. But Sabonis is one guy in particular I capitalize on anytime Miles Turner misses a game. Jump all over that.
That's a great point. I mean, that's one of those where if one or the other is out, and there's a lot of teams that have two particular guys like that, it's just lock button 100% on if the other guy plays and the other one's sitting. I mean, that's a great point because they're gonna get all that usage and all the rebounds and everything goes with it. So I'm with you on that. All right, we're gonna jump into our last team, and wrap up the show for this week with the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll let you jump in with that as soon as we hear a couple of words from Malcolm Brogdon about his excitement, by the way, of joining the Pacers. We want to get his 2 cents, and then you can jump in with the Bucks right after.
But, I'm extremely excited to be here. It's a great opportunity. It's an organization where I immediately feel extremely valued. They have a great franchise player in Victor Oladipo, and they have great building blocks and, Miles Turner, Sabonis, guys like that, and a great coach in Coach McMillan. So, I'm excited to be here, excited to be a part of this organization, and I'm ready to start winning.
There it is, Malcolm Brogdon, and I'll tell you, he's going to be fun, man. He is going to be fun. All right, let's wrap up with the Milwaukee Bucks. Mr. Apotria, what do you have to say about the defending East champions?
I mean, aside from the obvious with Giannis, he is my favorite player. He's been since he came in the league. I've always been a big Greek Freak fan. So, expecting him to just take maybe another small step forward and continue being the beast. Brogdon being gone is the one thing that I'm going to be focused on. Mirotic's also out of the way as well. But, taking a look at guys like, Eric Bledsoe, I think he's going to get overlooked in season-long leagues as well as DFS. And, he kind of, over the past few years, has been known to take a back seat to these other guys. But I think a lot of that was due part to Brogdon, less than it was for just, Middleton and Giannis taking all the usage. Brogdon handled a lot of ball handling responsibility in the past. He's now the go-to guy. It looks like they brought George Hill back. So I'm not expecting George Hill to eat up 26 minutes a game. So this is going to be the Bledsoe show with the ball, I think. Giannis obviously still going to have his moments of bringing it up court, but I think we're going to actually see a good year from Bledsoe, and he's a guy that I'm going to have an eye on. And if I had to highlight one guy on their team, it's got to be him.
That's a smart play. I mean, obviously on any given night, Giannis, can start your build, but he's going to be probably the most expensive guy on the board, or at least close to, with a Harden and a few other guys. So, do you put your chips all in on Giannis? Yeah, maybe on a specific given matchup. So I'm with you there. That goes without being said. Bledsoe, I don't know, man. It's the jury's a little out. I remember a stretch last year where, he had about a 10 or 15 game stretch where he was just awesome. And then they signed him to a contract extension. And it seemed like after that, he took the foot off the gas and just was okay. And, is that going to be good enough? I mean, they've got George Hill backing them up. They brought in Wesley Matthews and Pat Connaughton, Kyle Korver, Sterling Brown. They have a bunch of guys that can then pull some minutes. But again, with you're right, with Brogdon gone, it's his show completely. Hopefully he steps up. He's not the beginning of my build on any specific team, but I think he's a good player. It's just we'll see where it goes. Middleton, he was so average in the FIBA games, it was a little difficult to watch. Hopefully he steps it up a little bit. He has a tendency to be priced fair. So on a given night, again, he's points dependent at times. So you just sort of have to see what happens with him. And then the Lopez brothers, having Brooke and Robin there, that's not going to be confusing enough. I think you should get both of them when you take one personally, but that's sort of funny. I'm thinking they need to, Robin needs to shave his head and Brooke needs to grow his hair out just to freak everybody out and confuse everybody. But anyway, as far as the Bucks go, I don't know. I don't know how much of a DFS play they were. I know they were very popular last year, but Giannis will always, pull ownership just because he's Giannis and he can have the highest, fantasy total of the night. But the rest of the guys, I don't know if you can really count on to produce for you. So it's odd to say the best team in the East, but, to me, they're not a DFS sweetheart this year at all.
No, and I get your point, because while none of them are really appealing, there's reasons why they are played, and it's because they're more of a GPP targets. Those we've seen Middleton have big nights, we've seen Giannis break the slate, and Bledsoe, like I mentioned, he's a guy that just goes criminally underowned. And when he's being priced at that 6K range or 6.3, and he can still go out there and drop 40 in fantasy points in DraftKings or Fantasy Draft, FanDuel,
Right.
and those cash out. That's what you're looking for. I mean, that's more than a 6x value. So you'll take that any day of the week, and
any day, man.
And I'm not focused on any of the shooting guard cluster. Even for season long, I'm not touching any of that. Like I said, I try to keep my player pool. I got to limit it. My job is to come in here and X out guys that I do not want anything to do with it, and don't second guess it and don't look back. So again, the Bucks are one of those teams where I limit it right off the rip, and it's basically 3 guys I'm looking at. I'm not going to touch the centers. I'm expecting this to be chopped up. When they need more of a defensive help, they put Robin in, and when they're chasing points, they put Brook in. Whatever it may be, I'm not touching it.
We're on the same page, man, and I'm telling you, it's just as important of who you fade as who you're counting on in your lineup. Sometimes getting those fade guys right is what is going to win you cash and GPPs. All right, man, we put in another long show, but again, we want to pour as much information in preseason here to get you ready to build up that big bankroll early on. So it's been a fantastic show, Mike. Thanks for hanging in there. We're coming to you a day early this week, releasing on it being Wednesday the 18th. Next week we'll probably shift back to our Thursday spot, and as I say, next week we'll handle the 2 divisions, the Southeast and the Northwest. So Atlanta, Charlotte, all those, Portland, Utah. And then we'll finish up with the Pacific and Southwest the last week. So
you mean the good teams?
Yes, the West. We're saving the best for last, man. No doubt about it. So again, at Joe Sarvadi on Twitter, JoeSarvadi, and at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. Look for us at hoop-ball.com on the forums. Please subscribe, like, give us 5 stars, support Fantasy Draft, try to beat my buddy the Shark here, Mike Apotria, in their big Fantasy Draft rake-free $750K guaranteed contest this weekend. And any final words on your side, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, if you're on there and you're making a football lineup, shoot me a tweet. Let's go heads up. I got a little bankroll to mess around with. So if anybody wants to go do like a little, $1 or $5, come at me in football. I'm not an expert, but I'm feeling a little cocky right now. It's not my wheelhouse, and I'm winning money, so that therefore I'm ready to just bet everybody. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh! Well, take them on, man. I won't. I'm waiting for basketball. I'm smart in that sense, but. Take him on, man. I know Mike can be had. That's not his number one game. This is your shot out there, folks. So go after him. Good luck with that, Mike, too. All right, terrific. Thank you again for joining us for Hoopball NBA DFS today this week. I hope you were able to garner a lot of knowledge and information from what we threw out there. We're excited to finish up these next couple and get you ready for the start of the season. It is quickly approaching. So for Mike Apotria, I'm Coach, and we will catch you again next week as we all work together to look to crush it in NBA DFS this season. Thanks. Good night.
Good night, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.